Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Pacers Daily. I'm your host, Hery Acosta, bringing you in a new episode today. Let's talk about the Pacers' predictions and their records and just kind of what everyone's talking about, what everyone is really saying. Now, there are outlets that are predicting that the Pacers can match their win record from last season or that they can even exceed it, while others are kind of on that hate train, saying that the Pacers are potentially going to be in the mid 40s, close to that 50 win. Now, some outlets were saying it's shocking that the Pacers were getting the predictions that they were. Now, no, I mean, we still have a star-studded team. We still have a good team, good chemistry. Yeah, we're missing a big piece, but we didn't really mess around too much in the offseason. Added Jay Huff, Miles Turner's gone, but outside of that, I mean, the team is still pretty much the same brand, the same team that we had last year. Just missing Turner and just not going to have Halliburton. But Halliburton is still on the roster, and he will still be on the sidelines coaching up the team. So why can't we win 50 games? Now, it's always going to have to do with how everyone settles into this season. Just because this season's not going to be the catalyst for how every other season goes in the future. Now, we have a lot of players that are just going to continue to build and continue to get better. We have multiple drafts coming up where we could end up getting new players. Now, this year, 2 years in a row where we've only drafted in the second round. Haven't had a first-round pick since Jarris Walker and Ben Shepherd. But, Johnny Furphy's a good player. Johnny Furphy can get his minutes this year. Obviously, we don't have Tristan Newman or Enrique Freeman, who we drafted last year. They were both in Minnesota. But we'll see how Cam Jones and Taylor Peter do, just to see how they can add on. Now, obviously, there's going to be competition for those really final roster spots / non-two-way. But as of right now, I do believe that the Pacers can have a great season. A 50-win season is definitely a possibility. Now, there's one thing that I read online, which is Pacers hope not making the same mistake that the Warriors did with Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga was given a extension based off of potential. Now, what does Bennedict Mathurin bring to the table? Endless potential. He has potential to be one of the best shooting guards in the league. Just the way he plays, his offense, his defense, getting to the paint, getting fouls, just all that. He's got potential. Now, the Pacers did something smart. Instead of paying for potential, they're letting him play out this year just to see what he's got. I mean, this is the first year that he's going to be a genuine starter. Even though people thought that he was going to be a starter in his rookie season, and he was. He played very well. But Andrew Nembhard had more of that leadership role and ended up becoming that bona fide shooting guard starter. But now Nembhard goes to the 1. Move Mathurin into that 2 spot. So what do you get? Now you have a player who's playing for more than just potential. Now you have a player who's actually playing for a big contract, a $20 to $30 million contract. Could be even more depending on how well he plays. Because what? Last season, Jalen Williams, All-NBA, All-Defensive, NBA champ. Who's to say Mathurin can't break into an All-NBA, All-Star level player? And J-Dub's from the same exact draft that he's from. J-Dub was from that 2022 draft and was picked a few picks after. But, I like what the Pacers did here. I genuinely think that they learned from teams building on potential rather than actually, what they've seen. And now, you've seen in the news how much Kuminga and Steve Kerr don't really get along. And that's been pretty obvious. Kuminga was sitting out a lot of games. They had him multiple coach decision DNPs, which you wouldn't expect out of a player of his caliber. And just, he's only 22 years old. So Kuminga still got a lot. Who knows? Maybe I'll make an episode sometime speaking of Kuminga being a Pacer in the future. But that's probably in the future. But next and foremost, we're going to talk about some players that could be linked. Now, I have talked about these two before, but there still hasn't been anything coming out of either one. Now, with Simmons, it's a lot different than Kevin Love. Simmons is still, he's still young. He's around 28, 29 years old. and just one of the weirdest careers I have seen in the NBA. It's not like a Derrick Rose, where Derrick Rose had one big injury and then a lot of injuries started coming out afterwards and it just derailed his career. No, Ben Simmons, yes, Ben Simmons is injury prone. Ben Simmons has had a lot of injuries, but he's pretty much derailed himself by sitting out games, even if he wasn't injured, by just letting injuries drag on, by just not being his teammate's favorite person, passing up open layups, and just not really wanting to play the game of basketball. I mean, you were one of the most hyped up prospects in recent history. You were an LSU alum, someone who was compared to Magic Johnson, and what? You're drafted in 2016, which means this is about to be your 10th season in the league. And your 10th season in the league, as someone who's hyped up to be the next Magic Johnson because you were a 6'9" ball dominant point guard, you're scraping for minimums. But that doesn't mean that the Pacers can't offer that, because he could fit if he genuinely somewhat gets into that mindset that he came into the league. Because he came into the league and he won Rookie of the Year. Yes, it was technically his second season, but he didn't play his rookie year. He won Rookie of the Year in the same class as Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell, who both had historically good rookie seasons. Just think about that. I mean, that's comparable to when Tyreke Evans won Rookie of the Year in the same class as Steph Curry, James Harden, Drew Holiday, DeMar DeRozan. So, there's that. And then last but not least, I think Kevin Love is another minimum candidate. I don't see him going to Indy whatsoever, just because, Kevin Love is a Cavaliers and Timberwolves legend. I mean, he spent his last pretty much season and a half in Miami, kind of just coming off the bench, just being that veteran leader. But, Kevin Love's got a few seasons left in him. Who knows? He could end up coming here and just being that locker room guy. We could always use some experience. We have a lot of young guys outside of McConnell and Siakam. Like, no one's really above the age of 30. So getting a player like Kevin Love, who could still come into games and, play his heart out, just because he's been one of the best power forwards that we've seen in this league in the last 10, 15 seasons. NBA champ, multiple-time All-Star, once had a 30-rebound game. This guy can do it all. But, I would like to see him in a Pacers uniform, even if he doesn't really play much. Just, he's a great locker room guy. You could use a guy like that. But as always, I'm your host, Hery Acosta. This is Pacers Daily. Boom, baby. Go, Sirs.